All right, these are going to be my Week 7 UFL power rankings. Let's get started. At number 8, we're actually going to have the Memphis Showboats, who are 1-5. This week they lost 39-21 versus the Birmingham Stallions. Um, they didn't play horrible in this game, but 21 points is good against the Stallions, but their defense was atrocious. Case Cookus was not good. 15 of 23 for 115 yards, one touchdown with two lost fumbles in this game. Troy Williams stepped in, wasn't much better. 6 of 13 for 65 yards with one touchdown and one interception. So even though their offense, was decent with 21 points, both quarterbacks did not play particularly well, and they both had, a couple of turnovers there. Definitely not making this look very good for the Showboats. The reason that they're going to be here at number 8, even though they do have a win, is because they've just not been competitive in really any of their games here since that Week 1 win. So, even though they are, 1-5, better record than, the Renegades, I think they are the worst team here in this league right now. Number 7 is going to be the Arlington Renegades, who are 0-6 in this game. Against the Panthers this week, they lost 28-27. Very competitive game, only losing by 1 point. Louis Perez was good, 24-37, 180 yards and a touchdown. Davion Smith had 68 yards. Sal Cannella had 6 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown, so he was pretty good. They made a go-ahead field goal with only 59 seconds left to go up 27-25 in this game, but then they ended up giving Michigan, a field goal to win the game, which was kind of, a lot of their special teams' fault here. They let Marcus Sims return their kick all the way out to like the 50-yard line, which made it very easy to get into range for Jake Bates. And then on his first field goal try here, they had 12 players on the field, and he actually missed his 47-yard field goal attempt. Which would have won the game for Arlington, but they had 12 players on the field, giving Michigan 5 free yards and a re-kick, and they ended up making that. So two pretty big lapses here for the special teams, losing or letting them get out to the 50-yard line on the kick return, and then having 12 players on the field for that last field goal attempt. So if their special teams was a little bit better in this game, they easily would have won. Um, and actually had their first win on the season. But they've actually been competitive in most of their games, which is why they're going to be here at number 7 over the Memphis Showboats. Number 6 here is going to be the Houston Roughnecks here, who are also 1-5. They lost this week 22-8 versus the St. Louis Battlehawks. They did not look bad in this game. They only scored 8 points. Their offense is pretty bad. 6 of them, they had a touchdown, I believe, had 6 points, and they got a free safety at the last play of the game where St. Louis just purposely took a safety. So really, they only scored 6 points here offensively. Reed Sennett wasn't horrible. 19-34 isn't great. 134 yards isn't great, but he didn't throw any interceptions, didn't have any turnovers, but still would have liked him to be a little bit better. Mark Thompson had 60 yards with a touchdown and a fumble. Justin Hall had 6 receptions for 59 yards. So he was solid. But yeah, you're only scoring, 8 points here on offense is definitely not a good look for you guys. But their defense holding St. Louis to 22 points after they had just put up 45 the week before is a really good sign here for Houston, but they're going to need their offense to step it up a little bit. One thing is that Jarrett Guarantano, was their quarterback at the beginning of the season. I think he was a little bit better than Reed Sennett, and he's supposed to be healthy now. So maybe in Week 7, Guarantano can get the starting job back. That could help them be a little bit better here. Number 5 is going to be the DC Defenders, who are 3-3. They had a good game this week against the St. Louis Brahmas. They won 18-12. Tiami was 14-22, 179 yards and a touchdown. Solid numbers there. Darius Sagans had 63 yards. Cameron Harris had 39 yards and a touchdown. And Kelvin Harmon had 8 receptions for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. He was really, really good here in this game. Ultimately, this game was really, really big for DC because now they're only sitting one game behind San Antonio for the number two seed in the XFL conference. Whereas if they were to lose this game, they'd be sitting at 2-4, while San Antonio would be 5-1. So they'd be 3 games behind with only 4 games left. So it's a very good game here for DC. Very important for them to win this game, and now they're very much still alive in that playoff hunt here in the XFL conference for the number two seed. Number four is going to be the Michigan Panthers, who are 4-2. So like I said, they beat the Renegades here 28-27 on a game-winning field goal. Um, where they were down 27-25 with just under a minute left to play, and then Marcus Sims had a really good kick return there, out to like the 50-yard line. Then they got lucky with Arlington, giving them an extra field goal attempt because they did miss the original kick. So they did get a little bit lucky here in this game. But they still look pretty good offensively here. Danny Etling was not amazing in this game, though. 16 of 28 isn't bad, but it's not great. 202 yards and 1 touchdown. But he did have 55 rushing yards to help him out a little bit there. Marcus Sims is pretty good, 4 receptions for 67 yards. Ciosi Mariner with 4 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown is solid. 28 points is really good for your offense. You can't really ask for a lot more than that. With their defense letting Arlington score 27 is a little bit troubling. But Arlington's not a bad offense, so you're not really too upset about that. But um, you would like them to probably not let Arlington score 27 points on them, but ultimately it's not a horrible week there for Michigan. You did end up getting that win. You have a 3 game lead here over the number 3 and 4 seeds in the USFL conference. So, with all likelihood, you're probably going to end up securing a playoff berth here in week 7 or maybe week 8. But we feel really good about this Michigan Panthers team, at least because you are going to have a pretty easy path here to the playoffs. But you definitely could be a little bit hesitant because their defense has not been amazing, and they had a lot of close games here over the last couple of weeks. Number 3, it's going to be the San Antonio Brahmas, who are 4-2. Lost to the Defenders 18-12. Not a great week for their offense, only scoring 12 points. He's pretty pathetic. Quentin Dormady, 16-26 for only 79 yards with a touchdown and an interception. He did have 30 rushing yards, but also had another lost fumble there. So only just over 100 yards for this guy total, with 1 touchdown to 2 turnovers. Definitely not a good look here for your starting quarterback. John Lovett was amazing in this game, though. 154 total yards with a touchdown. He was amazing here in this game. 153 rushing yards himself, which was really, really good to see this rushing offense kind of take over this game. Ended up getting them that win by 6 points. They also signed Puka Williams, who used to be on DC, but wasn't getting a lot of playing time, and now he's going to be on San Antonio, which could just even more bolster their offense here a little bit, which is going to be a good thing to see here for San Antonio. But they do have a lot of things to worry about since they're only 1 game ahead of DC now. They can't really have any well, they can't afford to have any bad games here from here on out, or DC very well could just take advantage of that and, pass them up here for the number 2 seed there in the XFL conference. Number 2 is going to be the St. Louis Battlehawks. They're 5-1. They won 22-8 versus the Houston Roughnecks, which is a pretty good win there, but it wasn't too impressive, so I had to drop them here 1 spot. AJ McCarron was pretty good, 24 of 37, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So pretty good numbers there for him. The rushing game was not very good in this game, but they didn't really need their rushing game to do a lot because their passing game was working pretty well. Hakeem Butler had 6 receptions for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. I think he's probably been the best wide receiver in the league up to this point. He's been amazing here the last couple of weeks after he had a slow start to start out. But yeah, you're feeling pretty good about yourself if you are St. Louis here. Um, you only are worrying about the San Antonio Brahmas being able to kind of catch up to you. You're one game ahead of them. You're two games ahead of DC. Uh, and unless you guys end up losing, three of your last four games, you're probably going to end up in the playoffs. And I would expect you guys the St. Louis Battlehawks, to be pretty securely at number one seed. They do have a very, very tough matchup this upcoming week against um, the Birmingham Stallions. So they do got to worry about that if they were to lose that game, they'd probably be back down to, tied with the Brahmas, but they still got the tiebreaker there. They have a tiebreaker over DC. I believe they got to play both of those teams again, so they're really going to have to win those games. But as long as they beat San Antonio and DC the next times they play them, they're going to be the number one seed here in this XFL conference, regardless of those other two games. So feel good about yourself if you are St. Louis. Number one here is going to be the Birmingham Stallions. They're 6-0. The only reason they weren't number one for a couple weeks is because St. Louis was offense was doing amazing, but their offense was not amazing this last week. So I got to give it back here to Birmingham, who won 39-21 here versus the Memphis Showboats. AJ Martinez was absolutely amazing in this game. He actually started here in week 5 and week 6. So it seems to me that they've actually made a quarterback decision and are going to be going with Adrian Martinez from here on out, which I think makes a lot of sense. Matt Corral was not playing bad, but Adrian Martinez was just that much better still than Matt Corral. He's really, really good through the air and on the ground, and today he showed it through the air. 23 of 36, 369 yards, and 4 passing touchdowns. 4 passing touchdowns is the most any quarterback has thrown for in a single game this season. He also had 25 rushing yards on top of that, so he was absolutely amazing. Kevin Austin had 4 receptions for 108 yards and a touchdown. He was amazing. Marlon Williams has not done a whole lot up to this point in the season, but he had 4 receptions for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. So if he can get back on to being, one of the better wide receivers in the league, this offense is going to be that much more dangerous, even if those already been really, really dangerous so far this season. Their upcoming matchup here against the St. Louis Battlehawks should be a very, very entertaining matchup. Very well could be a championship preview. This one is going to be in Birmingham, so it's going to be interesting to see if their home field advantage, comes into play here. But that's going to be, one of the best football games we've seen in a while out of any of these leagues here, any of these spring leagues that have been here for the last few seasons. But hopefully that's going to be a really good game. Birmingham's been really, really good. Uh, so I would expect it to be a very, very close and high-powered offensive performance from both teams. We're going with the XFL standings right here. You got the Battlehawks at 1, Brahmas at 2, Defenders at 3, Renegades at 6. Um, Renegades are not technically eliminated. If they win out, Brahmas lose out, and Defenders, go 1-3 or lose out this season. The Renegades technically could be 4-6 and make that 2 seed in the XFL conference, but that's very, very unlikely because they're just playing really bad right now. I don't expect them to win. I would expect them to win at least one game this season, but definitely not anything to make a real playoff push here. USFL, Stallions 1 seed, Panthers 2 seed, Showboats and Roughnecks 3 games behind the Panthers there. The Stallions already secured that number 1 spot. Um, the Panthers 3 game lead over the Showboats and Roughnecks, so it's going to be difficult for them to not make the playoffs. So they would have to have a pretty bad collapse here over the last few weeks in order to miss the playoffs. For my quarterback powering, I actually did not update that this week, so we're just going to move on past this here. But looking at our attendance here for this week, we got the Birmingham Stallions and Memphis Showboats just had 5,600 people. I think that's the lowest attendance rate we've had for any game this season. It's pretty bad to see. Memphis, has one of the lowest performances out of any team this season, so that definitely could be a cause for concern and potential chance for them to be relocated in the near future. Roughnecks and Battlehawks had over 32,000, so they're doing really, really good there. Renegades Panthers had about 7,400 there. Not horrible for Michigan standards, but still Michigan is one of the worst, you know, fan outputs here, just above Michigan or just above Memphis, I think. They're definitely could be a team that you would think could be relocated to somewhere that is going to give you more than 7,000 fans on average. But this Brahmas and DC game had actually 14,000 people, which I think is the most DC has had since their home opener. So that's really good to see there for DC. Our average here is about 15,000 compared to last week's average of about 10,000. So, I mean, again, St. Louis kind of carries that number a little bit, but 15,000 is a good average here to see um, for for these other for a week. Looking at our TV viewership this week, we were really, really good this week compared to previous weeks. Stallions Showboats had 956,000 there on ABC, just shy of a million. Roughnecks and Battlehawks had only 829,000 on Fox. But that's still a pretty good number to be the lowest out of any week, or be the lowest game of the week. Renegades Panthers had 929,000. It's pretty good there. And the Brahmas and Defenders had 1.22 million here on Fox. That's really, really good number. We haven't seen a number that high, I think, since the first 2 weeks of the season. So that's really good to see that game did get a lot of viewers there. We had 983,500 on average, which is almost 250,000 higher than last week's average. A big reason for this random uptick in viewership here in week 6 has a lot to do with the NBA playoffs. There was only one total NBA playoff game both of these days, I believe. Looking back, um, yeah, Saturday there was only one NBA playoff game, and Sunday there was only one NBA playoff game. So recent weeks I've had like 2 or 3 games on Saturdays and Sundays. So, but only having one game these weeks opened up a lot of viewership towards this UFL game. So I would expect this upcoming week is probably going to be a little bit lower because the NBA playoffs are going to be back to having 2 games a day. But that does give some hope going forward, where we get to the conference finals and stuff in the NBA playoffs and NBA finals. There's only going to be one game a day at max, so that means coming back in the back stretch, week 8 and 9 and 10, should be really, really good for the UFL viewership because there's not going to be that much NBA interference. So yeah, thank you for watching. Apologize for being a little bit late here on this, but I was, worrying about my college finals and had to move back home. Took some time, so I didn't wasn't able to be able to make this video come out on uh, earlier in the week like I usually do, and I didn't get my quarterback power rankings in because, again, I just kind of wanted to get the core parts of this video out here for you guys. But yeah, make sure to come back next week for an updated power rankings list, and make sure to check out my NBA videos as well.